Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making a brioche bread, and I'm going to try to make it in the shape of a flower with some Nutella running through it. In the UK we call it nutella. I think in some other places they call it nutella for some strange reason, but I will stick with nutella. I've never used it before, I've never even tasted it before, but I've had a little taste of this and I have to say it really is quite delicious. So I'll put a link to the recipe below this video, so you can click on that and you can get the recipe anyway, or there will be a little eye appear at the top of the screen here, and you can always click on that and that will give you a link to the recipe as well. But usually when I make brioche I use a Paul Hollywood recipe, which takes a very long time because you prove the dough in the fridge overnight and then you prove it again later for another 2 to 3 hours. But with this recipe I'm following what other people have done with making this particular brioche flour, and hopefully it will work. So I've basically that they're all using the same recipe. Some use slightly more flour and slightly fewer eggs and slightly more milk, but it's a variation on a theme. So what I have is 600 grams of strong white bread flour, 7 grams of dried active yeast, a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of caster sugar, 200 grams of softened butter, 4 medium eggs, in the US that would be large, and 120 millilitres of milk. Some call for whole milk, but I'm using semi-skimmed milk, 2%. I'm going to put a little bit of the sugar in the milk, and then I'm going to add the 7 grams of yeast. Now the milk has been warmed slightly. Not hot, you don't want it hot because it will kill the yeast, but if you warm it slightly it helps to the yeast to activate. So I'm going to just stir that round to help the yeast begin to dissolve. And then I'm going to leave that for a few minutes to start activating. So while that's doing, I'm going to put the flour into our bowl. You can do all this by hand, but kneading by hand can be quite laborious. I'm going to add into that the salt and the remainder of the sugar, and then I'm just going to give that a quick whiz to begin to combine. And then I'm going to add the eggs, and I'm going to mix that again until it's all combined. Now that's getting combined, so I'm going to pour in our yeast mixture. I'm just going to scrape down a couple more pieces of the yeast that haven't gone in. And I'm going to knead that with this dough hook for 3 to 4 minutes. Now that's beginning to come together and it's rather dry, but it will all get rather moist and sticky as we add the butter. And continue kneading it until it's all combined and it will be tacky, maybe a little bit sticky, but certainly tacky. Okay, so our dough is just about done and it's still quite tacky. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that out and just form it into a rough ball. You could leave it in this bowl and let it prove in the bowl, but I'm going to prove it in a separate bowl, and I've taken this bowl and I've put some grease in it, and I'm going to pop that in and then just turn it over. This is to help it stop from sticking, but it doesn't actually matter if it sticks because you just scrape it out. So then with the dough in the bowl, I'm going to cover that and let it prove in a warm place for at least an hour until it's completely doubled in size, and then I'll be back with you and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so I've let this dough rest. As you can see, it's just about doubled in size, and I'm going to flour this surface and just pull this out and knock it back. And then bring it back up into a nice round ballish type of thing. And then I'm going to cut it into 4. And I'm going to put 3 of the balls, or 3 of the lumps, to one side. In fact, I'm going to put those on this plate and just cover them for the time being. Then I'll flour the work surface again, and I want to roll this out, this one, into a circle about the size of that plate. Slightly larger, in fact, so that I have room to trim the edge. keep flouring the surface because I don't want anything to stick. And as you can see, it springs back, so we need to so that is enough, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that onto this baking sheet, which I have lined with some paper, parchment paper. And then I'll take these off for a minute. I just want to check that like that and put a little, that gives me a little line on our dough, and then I'll take the Nutella, which I have had standing in some hot water just to make it a little bit runny. And I'm going to use an offset spatula to spread that over the dough, leaving some space just a little bit of space at the edge, not a lot. Oh, it smells lovely, this warm Nutella. You can almost take the spoon and have a healthy mouthful. I need a little bit more, I think, just for this bit here. And we're going to repeat this process with 2 more layers of dough and 2 more layers of the spread. So I'll be back with you when I've done that. Right, so this is our last piece of dough. I'm going to roll that out the same. And place that on the top of the 3 layers I already have. Just check the plate. That seems to be about the right size. Again, it will shrink a little bit. So I'm going to place this over and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the plate on just like that, and press it down, and then I'm going to cut around and take this excess dough away. Right, so there we have our dough. The next thing to do is to divide it into 16. So I'm going to place a glass in the centre there, and I'm going to cut like that and keep turning. That's not quite in the centre. And cut. And cut. And then cut them in half each time, and then in half again. Okay, so then we have to form our flour. So what we have to do is to take 2 portions at a time, pick one up and pick the other one up, and then turn them once, twice, and put them together like that. Do it with the next ones. Turn each one once, twice, and then together like that. That's our flour shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover that again and allow it to rest for 30 to 45 minutes so that it can rise again. Then I'm going to put an egg wash on it and bake it in the oven. So I'm going to preheat the oven to 180 Celsius, which is 350 Fahrenheit, 160 Celsius with a fan. So that will be ready when I come back and do the egg wash. So I'll be back with you in 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, so now I'm back with you again, and our bread has risen again. Now what I've actually done is I've put little toothpicks into the joins of each of the flours. I wasn't entirely sure that they would hold together in baking. Often when things bake, they have a tendency of puffing up and spreading out. So I'm hoping that will hold them together. And then here I have an egg which I've beaten, and I'm just going to brush that over the dough so that it has a nice golden colour to it as it bakes. The oven is preheating at 180 Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake this in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Now, I'm not going to claim that this is the prettiest flower on earth. I have seen prettier, but as a first attempt it looks quite good to me in its unbaked form. Remains to be seen what it looks like when it comes out of the oven, but I'm ever hopeful. And that's it. So I'll put it into the oven, bake it for 25 to 30 minutes, and then take it out. I'll let it cool down a bit and then I'll be back with you. Okay, so our brioche has now been taken out of the oven after baking for 25 minutes, and I've allowed it to cool down. Then I've simply put it on a plate, and so now it's time to take a look at it. So there we can see it. I'll just have a little taste. It does taste good. I've been told by my sister Margaret, also known as Lala for certain people, that I shouldn't keep taking 2 bites of everything. But when it tastes as good as this, I don't think 2 bites is enough. So there we have it, a lovely nutella or chocolate hazelnut brioche flour, baked perfectly, tasting wonderful. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me the thumbs up by clicking on the thumb underneath the video, and also click to subscribe to my channel for more recipes as I put them online. And I will be back with you very shortly with another video for you hopefully to enjoy. So until then, happy baking.